Let me tell you something that almost nobody knows, something I wish someone had told me years ago. Because once you hear this, you'll never look at food, or security, or even a simple potato the same way again. Picture this with me for a moment. It's 1941. Europe is collapsing into chaos. Entire nations are fighting just to stay alive. And in the middle of all this destruction, in a city trapped by enemy forces, a quiet battle is happening underground, literally beneath the frozen streets. Bombs are falling. People are starving. Winter is squeezing the city like a steel fist. And yet, in a hidden vault, a handful of scientists are guarding something the world barely understands. Something more valuable than gold, more essential than oil, more powerful than any weapon you could imagine. They were protecting potatoes. And not the kind you and I casually toss into a shopping cart. Not the shiny, supermarket-friendly ones bred to look pretty under fluorescent lights. No. These were different. These were the genetic lifelines of entire civilizations, the result of decades of selective breeding, scientific obsession, and agricultural warfare. These potatoes represented survival itself. And here's the part that still blows my mind. The scientists guarding them chose starvation over eating a single tuber. 9 of them died. Just think about that for a second. Imagine holding food in your hands while your stomach twists in hunger, while your colleagues collapse beside you. And still refusing to eat. Because you know, deep in your bones, that what you're protecting isn't just food. It's the future, and this story, it isn't ancient history. It's a warning, a reminder, a wake-up call. It's the reason I want you to rethink everything you believe about food security, self-reliance, and the humble potato. Because today, I want to take you into the forgotten world of survival genetics, the varieties engineered to withstand cold, drought, disease, and disaster. The varieties that fed nations through war, famine, and collapse. The varieties that still exist. If you know where to look. And by the time we're done, you'll understand exactly why planting the right potato in your backyard, or even in a bucket on your balcony, might be one of the smartest decisions you ever make. So let's dive in. While the West was busy perfecting supermarket aesthetics, smooth skins, uniform shapes, photogenic colors, the Soviet Union was engineering something entirely different. Their goal wasn't beauty. It wasn't convenience. It wasn't even profit. Their goal was survival. Soviet agronomists spent decades breeding potatoes that could endure the harshest environments on Earth. I'm talking about Siberian winters, flooded fields, drought-stricken plains, poor soils, short growing seasons, diseases that wiped out entire harvests, and the West barely scratched these varieties. These weren't just potatoes. They were biological fortresses. One of the most legendary varieties was Nevsky, a potato so resilient, so adaptable, so productive that it became a cornerstone of Soviet food security. Nevsky didn't care about cold springs. It didn't care about marginal soil. It didn't care about your excuses. It simply grew. But here's the frustrating part. You can't walk into a typical garden center in North America or Western Europe and buy Nevsky. These survival cultivars aren't sitting on Amazon. They're not in glossy catalogs. They're not marketed to hobby gardeners. And yet, their genetic descendants exist. And they're hiding in plain sight. After digging through agricultural records, breeding histories, and genetic lineages, 2 varieties stand out as the closest modern equivalents to those Soviet survival potatoes. Let me tell you about them the way I'd tell a friend. Kennebec, the workhorse. Kennebec is the potato you grow when you want something dependable. It was developed in 1948, and honestly, it behaves like it was built for emergencies. It produces huge yields, stores beautifully, and shrugs off poor soil like it's nothing. It's not fancy. It's not trendy. But it works, year after year, in conditions that would make other varieties quit. Yukon Gold, the pragmatic performer. Yukon Gold is different. It's not as heavy yielding as Kennebec, but the flavor, the texture, the versatility, it's exceptional. It was bred in Canada, a place with climates not so different from Russia, and it carries that same no-nonsense genetic toughness. Together, these 2 varieties give you the closest thing to Soviet-era survival genetics available today. And the best part? You don't need farmland. You don't need perfect soil. You don't need experience. You just need a container, some dirt, and the willingness to start. Let me be honest with you. Modern grocery store potatoes are a trap. They're bred for one thing, appearance. They're designed to look good under fluorescent lights, survive long shipping routes, and stack neatly on shelves. But when it comes to resilience, productivity, or long-term food security, they fail. They're fragile. They're disease-prone. They're genetically shallow. And they're absolutely not what you want to rely on in a crisis. The Irish potato famine happened because millions of people depended on a single variety, the lumper. When disease hit, the entire system collapsed. Genetic diversity isn't a luxury, it's survival. And right now, the world is quietly losing thousands of potato varieties. Every year, more disappear. More genetic information is erased. More resilience is lost. But you can help preserve it, simply by growing the right varieties. People underestimate potatoes because they're cheap, common, familiar. But here's what most people don't realize. Potatoes produce more calories per square foot than almost any crop on Earth. They grow in containers, bags, buckets, even trash cans. They store for months with almost no effort. They're packed with essential nutrients. When combined with dairy, they form a complete protein. They improve soil instead of depleting it. One plant can produce 10 to 20 potatoes. 10 plants can produce 200. 100 square feet can produce 200 pounds, enough calories to sustain an adult for months. This isn't gardening. This is food security. Here's the simple, foolproof method, the same one I'd teach you if we were standing in your backyard right now. Get seed potatoes, not supermarket potatoes. Let them sprout in a cool, bright place. Cut them into pieces with at least 2 eyes each. Let the cuts dry for 24 hours. Plant them 4 inches deep, 12 inches apart. Hill them, mound soil around the stems as they grow. Harvest when the plants die back. Store in darkness at 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's it. No fertilizers. No fancy tools. No complicated techniques. Just plant, hill, harvest, repeat. The self-perpetuating food system. Here's where things get incredible. Once you start growing survival potatoes, you never need to buy seed potatoes again. Each year, you simply save a portion of your harvest for replanting. Over time, the plants adapt to your soil, your climate, your microenvironment. They become more productive, more resilient, more uniquely suited to your conditions. You're not just growing food, you're breeding your own survival variety. This is how humans farmed for thousands of years, before corporations convinced us we needed to buy seeds every spring. The legacy you're carrying forward hosts scientists who died protecting those potatoes in 1941 weren't just preserving food. They were preserving knowledge, the genetic memory of crops that had endured centuries of hardship. Their collection still exists today at the Vavilov Institute in St. Petersburg. Over 250,000 plant specimens. One of the most important genetic libraries on Earth. When you grow Kennebec or Yukon Gold, you're tapping into that lineage. You're participating in a tradition of resilience, adaptation, and survival. You're not just planting potatoes. You're planting history. If you take nothing else from this story, take this. Food security isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, inflation, shortages, supply chain failures, disasters, you have the ability to produce real, meaningful calories with your own hands. Start with 10 pounds of seed potatoes. Plant them. Harvest 100 to 200 pounds. Save 20 pounds for next year. Repeat. In 3 years, you'll have more food than you know what to do with. And you'll be carrying forward the legacy of the people who protected these genetics with their lives. The least we can do is use them.